So, hi there. In this video, like promised, we'll build our main screen layout. So at the end of this lesson, we'll have all these elements except for the content of the RecyclerView, because it's the subject of the next one. So we have four main elements: the total balance with the amount, a card view with the expense, amount, and budget. We have transaction title and RecyclerView. And also a floating add button. So at the beginning of project, Android Studio created a first screen for us. So a screen is an activity connected with a layout. For now, we have a single function in our activity. It's onCreate function. It is called when the activity is starting, so this is where most initialization should take place. So some elements will be using in this video come with the default configuration and others don't, because to make final app package lightweight, Android Studio doesn't add all available packages to the initial project. So when you start a new project, you need to bring some libraries either from Google's or third parties. We use libraries because it's convenient and also to avoid spending time and effort solving problems that others have already solved for us. For instance, this card view and this floating action button are elements or components from a library called Material.io. So let's add this library to our project. Head to a browser and type in Material.io. Select the first link. And here we have some guidelines to use the components, the icons, accessibility guidelines, developer tutorials. We have some news, we have some case studies, and more importantly, we have the components. So head there, and on the left, you have all the available components. For example, we want cards, and we want the card view. So this is the card view, and this is its implementation. So here you have some kind of tutorial how to use it, an example. And for the design, you have the usage principles, the anatomy, and the do's and don'ts. For example, here they tell you you should use it this way. You should expand the card view to reveal information, but you shouldn't flip over to reveal information. So you can study this for more information, but we're interested in getting the link to download it. So let's head back to implementation. And here we have, for more information, go to the Getting Started page. Click on it. It will open a GitHub page, and the GitHub page gives you the dependencies. So copy this line, head back to Android Studio. So in Android Studio, we have another folder which is called Gradle scripts. So our libraries are declared in the app Gradle file. So it's this one. Make sure it's the module app, not the project one. Open it. And we look for the dependencies block and add ours there. So here, for the record, we have the compile SDK version is 30, but the minimum SDK version is 24. So we have the application ID, which is the package. And if you go down, we have all the dependencies, and Android Studio already added some, like the JetBrains Kotlin, because we're using Kotlin. We have the app compat, because remember, our app is app compat activity. We have the constraint layout. It's another module. We have these three dependencies for unit tests. We won't use them, but leave them anyway. And we add our libraries or dependencies at the end of this file. So it's always the same scheme. It's implementation and the link, or some kind of link to get it. So here it says it's com Google Android material, and the name of package material, and the version, we should specify it. So the current version is 1.0.0. Now when you're done, you hit the sync now link here, and this is And what it does is it brings all the files and dependencies into our project. So it's relatively fast. Okay, it's done. Close this and close the build Gradle file. Okay, first of all, let's open main activity. Actually, we're on the main activity layout. For now, it contains a default text view, this one. So layout defines the structure of the user interface. So this is our user interface. And this layout defines what it contains and how it behaves. So it is built using a hierarchy of views and view groups. So this is a view and this is a view group. So the difference between the two is that a view doesn't contain anything else, but a view group is more structural element, and it contains and structures elements that are called its children. So a view group is an invisible container that defines the layout structure for view and other view groups objects, just like the constraint layout we have in front of us. So another thing, the code or the layout editor has three options here. The code view, which shows only the XML code. You have the split view, where you have the XML code and the design view, and you have only the design view. So it's totally fine to make your design just using design view, because you have palette here and you have all elements you can use. We have layouts, containers, widgets like image view, buttons, we have text, different kind of text. You have plain text, password text, email, phone, multi-line, time, date, etc. And you have more common widgets like text view, image view, recycler view, which one we'll use later. I have switch, scroll views. And on the right, we have the attributes. So here, if you, let's say, select this text view, and you have all available attributes, so we can change them here. Let's say for layout height, let's say it's 0dp instead of match parent. If you have layout constraints, we can change them here. We can change the content. Let's say hello there, and hit enter. It's changed. And we have a lot of other attributes that we won't use. So I find it a little bit overwhelming to use this view, so I'll go back to the split view and edit elements, add them programmatically, and change attributes manually and add just the attributes that I need. So we don't need this text view anymore. Let's remove it and let's change our constraint layout to a relative layout. Relative layout and hit enter. So put this in a new line. So a relative layout enables you to specify the location of children objects relatively to each other or to the parent. So let's start with the total balance. So these two are two text views. So let's add them here. So open arrowhead, put text view, hit enter. So here we have the layout width and height. We want the width to wrap content. Actually have a choice between wrap content, match parent, and other values, and or we can put our own values, like let's say I want it to be 200 dp's width. So here it occupies 200 dp. So dp is density independent pixel unit. So this is unit we use to size elements independently of the density of the screen. So now we'll go with wrap content. So the wrap content, what it does is tells the view to size itself to the dimensions required by its content. And the match parent, the other one, tells the view to fill the parent view group. So if we replace it by match parent, so this view, it will fill all the variable width of the parent view, which is the relative layout. And the relative layout is already taking all the available space on the screen because it's match parent. So we don't want that for the moment. So let's set it back to wrap content, and for the height to wrap content. close this element and add a text attribute. So we wanted to say total balance, and here we have our total balance. You want to text to be all caps, so set the attribute or all caps. Okay, set it to true. Now it's all caps. We want it to be bold, so let's set the style attribute to bold, and you want the size, we want the size to be 20 sp, so set text size to 20 sp. So here you should notice that we didn't use dp and instead we used sp. That because sp is scale independent pixels, it is just like dp but is also scaled by the user's font size preference. So for text elements we use SPs, and for anything else we use DP. Okay, now we want to add another text view, and this one is for the amount. So wrap content, close it. Text, let's put in $100. We want text size to be 32 SPs, and we want the style to be bold. So text style bold. Okay. Actually, let's set an ID here, and in the ID we call it total amount, or total, or just balance. Okay, so the ID will be used later in this layout and in the main activity class. So we refer to this component with its ID, so we can modify the content of the text and all the attributes in the class by using its ID. And also here we see that this field is on top of this one, and this one is in the upper left corner of the screen. So by default, the origin of our screen, I mean the 0, coordinate, is on the top left side of the screen. So automatically when you add an element, it will go there. And since it's a relative layout, so we want this one to be below this one. Oops, below this one. And to do that, we can, the easiest way to do it is to add a linear layout. So a linear layout is a layout that organizes its children into a single horizontal or vertical row. We want them to be organized vertically, so let's set the wrap content to match parent on the width, so it takes to all the screen, the height to wrap content. Okay, and let's copy these two inside this view group, and let's set it to set orientation to vertical. Now we have the amount below the title. Okay, now we're done with this. Now we can add our card view. So let's create the element card view and make sure to select the card material card view. Okay, so the width it's match parent and height it's wrap content. Let's open it and look at this. We have this element and this one. We have these two are aligned vertically, so you guessed it, we'll use a linear layout. And here we have the same thing, another linear layout, and we have these two components aligned, so we'll use a third linear layout. These two will be vertical linear layouts, and this one will be horizontal one. So okay, let's create the first linear layout, and it's match parent and wrap content. Okay, now let's create the second one. It's wrap content and wrap content. And let's add, actually let's specify the orientation to be vertical, because by default it's horizontal. Let's add our text view. So wrap content, close this. For text, so the first one is the amount. So let's say we have a budget of $400. Got the $sign. Okay, and the second text view is for the title or the label. So wrap content, close it, and text is budget. Okay, now you notice that we have the same problem as the first time. We have this view group which is on top of this one because we didn't specify the position of this one. So first of all, let's give this one an ID to refer to it. So ID, and call it total or balance layout. Okay, now the card view, we want it to be below the balance layout. So let's add another attribute which is below or layout below, and select the right ID, it's balance layout. Now the card view is below the total balance. We want to add some spacing, so let's set margin top to be 12 dp. Also, we want to add some spacing on the left and the right of the card view. So let's add margin start to 10 dp and margin end to 10 dp. Okay, now we have some space. Let's make our text look bigger. So first of all, text style to bold, text size to 26 sp, and that's it. Let's set this one to text size to 14 sp and text all caps to true. Okay. Okay, now look at this. We have this linear layout. We'll copy this and paste it just below to have the second one. And the second one is here, the budget. Actually, it should be expense. And later in this course, we want to set this value from the activity. So we need to give them IDs. So this one is the expense, and the other one is the budget. Okay. Okay, let's take a look here. Here, these two elements are sharing half of the parent layout, or each of them is taking half the space. So to do this, we have our main linear layout, and we have the first child and the second one. So there is an attribute to tell them to occupy half the space. So let's add the layout weight, okay, and set it to 0.5. Now we need to tell the other child to have the same attribute. So layout attribute, or layout weight, set to 0.5 too. And now these two are sharing all the parent space. I want them to be centered, so let's tell this linear layout to center its child. So we have these text views. I want them to be centered vertically and horizontally. So use the gravity attribute and set it to center. So if you go center vertical, it will only center it vertically. If you choose center horizontal, it will only center it horizontally. If you choose center, it will do both of the two below. Let's go for center, and it's centered. Let's do the same thing for the other linear layout. So gravity center. Okay. So there's something missing here. We don't have the shadow. So sometimes Android Studio doesn't show them. So to force it to do it, let's start the app. or the Android device. Let's compile it and see if it's considered in the app. Okay, so here we see that we have the shadows. Oh, and it just appears here too. Magnificent. So I want to have rounded borders. So go to material CardView and type in border or card radius, card corner radius, and go with 12 dp. Okay, I want to add some spacing, so I'll go with its first and unique child, and add some margin top, set it to 10 dp, some margin bottom 10 dp, and it looks better now. Okay, now let's move these two a little bit to the right. So we add some margin start and say to 10. Okay, it's looking better. And some top margin too, margin top, and set it to 18. Okay, let's add the RecyclerView, the other one. Okay, let's add the RecyclerView title transactions. So okay, below CardView add TextView with a capital T, wrap content, close it, set text to transactions, set text style to bold, text size to 14, SP, all caps text, all caps to true, and we want it to be below the card view. So let's give the card view an ID. Just call it dashboard. Okay, actually let's give this one an ID too. Call it RecyclerView title, and tell it to go below the dashboard, and add some space. So margin top to be 12 dp and margin start to be 10 dp like the others. Okay, now we add the RecyclerView, but we won't implement it in this video, we'll just create it. So select Android X RecyclerView widget RecyclerView, first one, make to wrap match parent and match parent, close it, tell it to be below the RecyclerView title, and add some top margin, set to 10 dp. Okay, and let's give it an ID. So obviously it's RecyclerView, and remember this ID because we'll need it later. Last thing, or not last thing, but actually not the last thing, it's the floating action button. Make sure to select the material one if you have others. Width wrap content, height wrap content, close it, and we want it to be on the bottom right. So let's say align parent bottom to be true and align parent right to be true, and add some margin, make it 10 dp. And now we have to add an icon here, a plus icon. So let's create it first. So head here to the res folder, drawables, right click on it, new vector asset, So here we have a clip art, click on it. On the search bar, type in add, select the first one. Okay. Change the name to a simpler one. So let's just name it IC add, IC for icon. Change the color to be white. Choose, next, hit finish, and we have a new element here. So this is the XML code for the image we create. Close this and add a source attribute here, source, and select drawable IC add. So just like the string and colors, the folder is called drawable and the file is called IC add XML. So we reference it as add drawable / IC add. Select this. Now we have our button. Okay. We're nearly done. So we have to add some colors, green and red and darkish color. So all our text views are gray. If you want to change the color, we can change a text view at a time by setting the text color attribute to whatever we like. But this is too much work for me. So there's another solution, another way to do it is to change the style. So you head to values folder in the rest folder, open the style file, add a new item, call it text color, select this one, close it, and choose a color. So to choose a color, we have to define it in the right file. So here, copy and paste this, change the name to text main, and here we have a square, click on it and select color. I'll choose a gray color, dark gray. Okay, remember the name, text main. Head back to style, and here start typing text and it will appear. Select it. Okay, we just set the text color. So all our text views have changed text color. Now we have to add the green and red colors. So first of all, head back to the color file, copy paste this line, name it green, hit the square, select the green color, copy paste, name it red, and hit the square and select red color. Okay, we're done with the colors. Let's close this, and in activity main, let's select the budget text view and set the text color to green. Okay, and this one to red. Also, I want this button to be red. So head to the button and select background tint and select the red color. So if you zoom in, the border is still in a different color. It's some kind of greenish. I will completely remove the border. So set border width to 0 dp, and now it looks better. Okay, so we're done, I think, with the video. So okay, let's test it, run, and wait for it to launch here. Okay, so it looks better, but we don't have anything in transaction list because we'll do it in the next video. Here you can see we have a top bar here with the title. I don't like this, and there's a way to remove it. So head back to style file, and at the top of the style there is a parent, which is theme app compat light dark action by default. I don't want bar action, so I'll replace it by no action bar and rerun it. This should disappear. Okay, so we're really done in this video. So see you in the next one to deal with the recycler view.